Pro wrestling video games have been around for a long time, with the first known game being released the very same year when Hulk Hogan body slammed Andre the Giant in front of 90,000 fans at WrestleMania 3 in 1987. So are they fighting games? Are they sports games? Honestly, they're probably neither. A wrestling game is kind of like having a whole bunch of action figures of all your favorite wrestlers in digital form, and you can do whatever you want without breaking them. Well, I mean, you can still glitch and occasionally break the game. Let's address the most critical question about WWE 2K22. Is it a broken, mangled mess like the game we saw 2 years ago? The short answer is no, which means you can pick this one up and expect a complete and functioning product as a bare minimum. The long answer is a little more complicated, as long-standing collision detection issues, limbs spazzing out, clipping, and other nagging still rear their ugly heads now and then. Speaking of glitches and bugs, the game doesn't look great. Don't expect a significant leap in graphical presentation if you're planning to play on the PS5 or Series X. Sure, some character models look better than others, but overall the visual presentation feels unpolished and inconsistent. The texture mapping feels especially dated, so those expecting a major overhaul will be disappointed. However, what does shine is the sound design, as for the first time, the color commentary is shockingly on point, and the roaring crowd noise creates a cool ambiance. Here you have a comprehensive roster of wrestling stars from various eras, everyone from Hulk Hogan to John Cena and The Rock, and recent main event superstars like Roman Reigns. Depending on which edition of the game you pick up, you're looking at 168 playable wrestlers. For quite some time, the core wrestling gameplay of the franchise has been criticized for feeling too clunky and outdated, and WWE 2K22 certainly changes things up in many ways. It won't necessarily feel like a complete reboot of the grappling system, but the changes made are enough to help it feel a little more enjoyable and closer to the drama and pacing of the TV product. The playing field has a cinematic presentation to almost match a broadcast, and while the grappling fundamentals are familiar, a few welcome changes have been made to reversals and counters, most notable being a combo system, where strikes and grapples can be chained together more smoothly, and each wrestler has their own combo style. The base wrestling action does feel fun to play, but what hasn't changed is the amount of meters, gauges, and minigames to keep an eye on. With so many little gimmicks and ideas, it can all feel quite disjointed for the most part. If 168 wrestlers weren't enough, then WWE 2K22 is equally generous in the various ways you can get in on the grappling action. There's an enormous list of match types and rules here, some involving as many as 8 competitors simultaneously. Given all the choices available, are they all fun? Well, some just aren't as enjoyable as others. For one thing, the Hell in a Cell and Elimination Chamber matches feel cumbersome and unfinished, but at least steel cage encounters have all the necessary shenanigans. For the most part, even with the spotty collision detection, weapons are pretty fun to use as you smash kendo sticks over your opponent's head or send them crashing through a table. Going beyond match types, there are several game modes too, and this time, players are almost spoiled for choice. Among them is the return of the much requested General Manager mode. Is it as engaging and comprehensive as what fans fondly remember from the PS2 classic? Well, not really. It may present a lot of bells and whistles, but the execution just doesn't have meaningful substance, even as you go through the process of recruiting wrestlers and putting on a show. It's still a fun distraction, especially when Triple H just won't stop texting you. Also, who the hell is Clint McDougal? And how much did 2K pay for him to be in this game? There's more, as you've got the Sandbox Universe mode, where you can basically do your own fantasy booking in studios. There's the story mode, which kind of feels like a direct-to-video wrestling movie, where players take their custom wrestler through the ranks of WWE as they talk trash, battle on social media, and, I suppose, wrestle in the ring too. Some of the objectives can be a little frustrating, and it's weird how much blurring and censoring they had to do for the archive footage. Still not enough modes for you? Well, they seem to keep coming, as this year's release introduces an entirely new faction card game. You'll need a 2K account for this one, as you can collect wrestling cards and boosters. It basically is like those free-to-play mobile games, except battles play out in actual wrestling matches. This mode may just be for a specific niche, and it feels a bit tacked on to the whole package. So going back to the action figures analogy earlier, this is the kind of game that's fun to play with friends. It can be hilarious to experience on the couch, but as an online experience, this isn't something you'd want to play too seriously. Just don't expect rollback netcode here, and honestly, most players will likely play aggressively to win via cheap exploits and tactics. This isn't a competitive experience by any stretch of the imagination. WWE 2K22 gives players a ton of content right out of the box and is backed by the lavish assets from across the WWE archives. If you're a wrestling fan, chances are you're probably going to have fun diving into the various modes and match types. Although there's no shortage of things to do or ways to play, having too many ideas often means that most of them aren't executed to their full potential. At the heart of it all, this is a wrestling video game experience that feels inherently cumbersome, buggy, and dated. Noisy Pixel is giving WWE 2K22 a 6.5 out of 10. Thanks for watching. Be sure to check out the full review at noisypixel.net. Noisy Pixel is run by a group of gamers who work hard to deliver news, reviews, previews, and more. Please subscribe to keep up with all our future content.
Noisy Pixel.